Welcome, and thank you for attending OneSource's IT Spotlight Series webcast. My name is Steve Cobb. I'm the Chief Information Security Officer at OneSource Communications, and I've been with OneSource for about 6 years now. OneSource Communications is a provider of communication lifecycle management, managed IT services, and managed security customers for our clients globally. If you're disappointed because you're not seeing Kirk Waddell, I apologize. We want to wish Kirk the best. He's not feeling well today, so unfortunately he won't be with us, but we're going to continue on, and I'm going to start with introducing our guest today. It's my honor to introduce Jamie Garner. He is the Senior Vice President, Information Technology Officer at Union Bank. Union Bank was founded in 1998, has become the premier community bank in Central and Eastern North Carolina. They now have 15 locations, but their still guiding principle is that old-fashioned personal service that's as valuable today as it was 100 years ago. So Jamie has over 20 years of IT and banking experience. He's been very active in the community affairs throughout his career and serves on many leadership boards and in many leadership capacities. So welcome, Jamie. Glad to have you today.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for having me.
So today we're going to have a discussion around outsourcing and whether or not to outsource, what the key factors and decisions that clients should consider when they're looking at outsourcing. So I'd love to hear about your Union Bank experience with outsourcing and give a better understanding to those listening and viewing how that's worked for Union Bank.
Well, as a community bank, you generally have a lot of outsourcing going on because you don't have the staff internally to normally take care of certain things, and a lot of places you can get it done a little better outsourcing it. We are a small community bank, went through a merger a couple of years ago and basically doubled in size overnight, and a lot of things we do we outsource from account opening, to mortgages, everything like that. We outsource all those kind of things. We have a small IT staff, so we outsource some technology components of it too. And we've been doing this. I've been here been at Union Bank for over 15 years. It works well for us because it gives our internal staff, the flexibility to concentrate on servicing the customer and our internal needs. So it's something that's worked well for us.
So from what I'm hearing you say is from the community bank experience, essentially you basically have to outsource some things, right? Because you don't have the staff or resources internally to handle those. Obviously, from a finance standpoint in that market, there are pieces to your business function that you have to outsource anyway, because as you mentioned, you're a community bank, like your back end financing, processing, and all those sorts of things. But just give us a real quick idea maybe of the departments or areas where you are doing some outsourcing today. What are the places where you identified, hey, maybe this isn't what we're experts at, or maybe we don't have the skill or expertise in-house, and these are places where potentially we could look to see to gain efficiency or maybe even realize cost savings for outsourcing certain aspects.
One of the big things that we outsourced that is a huge advantage for us is the telecom piece. We have a relationship with OneSource where we basically bundle our services for us, scrutinize our billing, go over pricing, negotiate pricing with vendors. It would take several in-house employees to do the work that one function provides us. So it's a huge cost savings, and it frees up our staff to do other things. That's one of the bigger ones.
Yeah, good. So tell me then, what is that? You just mentioned kind of an idea of looking at outsourcing as a replacement, maybe for even headcount internally, things you don't have to do there. And that's not always what outsourcing does, but sometimes it plays in there, especially if you're expanding your business or moving into new markets where you need new resources or new knowledge. But what is the tipping point for OneSource? How do you give me just a real quick idea of how you go through that analytics to determine, hey, this is something that this is some activity or process that would be good for us to look at outsourcing?
Well, one big thing that happened recently, I go talk about a couple of years ago, the Little Bank and Union Bank merged, and we grew overnight. During that merger, the legacy Union Bank didn't have any IT staff in-house. All of their IT function was outsourced. So when we did this merger, we gained zero technical resources out of that merger. So we did gain we doubled in size, doubled in employees, but we didn't double in any of our IT resources. So at that time, we were in need of an immediate injunction of talent and resources to get us through that merger in the next couple of years. And we actually went to OneSource. We shored up our help desk through OneSource, used OneSource help desk, through contract employees, and got us over that hump. And we use that today, even as we've kind of gotten past this merger. We use this today. When we have projects that come up, it's good to be able to reach back out, get some expertise and some resources during that short-term period, and then when you're done with that, you can go back to normal. And that's a cost savings for us. We don't have to have a full-time, because you kind of sit, it's like you're sitting, you don't know whether you're going to sit at the grown-up table or the adult table, because we're kind of right in the middle of that right now. Yeah. And some days you still want to sit at the kid table, but you want to stick your foot out there and sit at the adult table. You got to have resources in place for that employee. You got to have some talent here. That's kind of an awkward position that a lot of the community banks are in. You don't really have the resources in-house, so it's good to be able to reach out and get it, for a short term or a longer period amount of time, and it kind of gets you, kind of smooths things out for you.
Yeah, and we focus so far a lot around resources and using outsourcing to maybe provide bandwidth expansion, if you will, or resources where you may need those things. What about from a technology perspective, Jamie? So as outsourcing has Union Bank, or other maybe peers where outsourcing has helped them realize some technology advantages as well? I mean, I'm thinking things like Union Bank's mobile app, right? I mean, I'm sure, I don't think you've got behind you sitting there a team of developers that are developing a mobile app for Union Bank, right? So how would you leverage those things to better serve your clients, but also maybe heighten technology for Union Bank?
Well, we partner with several vendors throughout to get the job done. And one huge vendor for us is Jack Henry. They're a vendor for a lot of community banks and a lot of small banks, and they do all of our back end, teleprocessing. They take care of mobile banking, online banking. So they have a team of developers there that develops our online banking and develops our mobile banking. And a lot of the products that we use today, that's part of their deal that they do for community banks.
Yeah, good. So outsourcing can be an advantage, not only to increase your bandwidth, right, and give you more resources to do more work, but also maybe those places where it doesn't make sense for you to invest money in to begin with, like mobile developers or whatever the case may be. Outsourcing provides some advantages there especially as it sounds like for Union Bank and other clients potentially. So when you make that decision that we're going to partner with a vendor or we're going to outsource a specific technology or function, give me an idea of what you look for. How do you make that decision? What is it that is important in a vendor or a partner, let's say, for Union Bank to outsource an activity or technology to them?
I think the single most important thing that our management team looks at is business reputation and trust. When we partner with a vendor, we have to know that vendor is going to do it just like we would do it. It has to be an extension of our company, and a lot of that is built over time. Communication, ability to meet deadlines. Unique expertise, like in the telecom example, OneSource has a unique expertise in that one area and other areas. But I know that when I send somebody out from one source, that it would be like I was sending myself or a member of my staff to get something done. So that's the single most important thing, is that you don't have a drop off in service. It's just like you would do it yourself. I look at it, I look at price. Everybody likes to talk about how much things cost, but at the end of the day, that's probably the last thing I look at, because you get what you pay for in this industry. So you may have to pay a little bit more to get what you want, but I think in the long run, your reputation is what's on the line. So
yeah, it makes sense. So what would be your advice, as we have other folks that are watching this webinar and probably will come back and watch it later on demand, to maybe a small business, medium enterprise right now that's considering outsourcing some function or technology, especially as we consider coming out of this pandemic and maybe business starts picking back up again. Hopefully Union Bank's doing well, and I think that you guys are still coming through this pandemic, and a lot of businesses that aren't. But as we come through this, hopefully the wheels of motion start back in place and things start growing, and people need to scale and grow, especially potentially in a void where other businesses were not able to sustain themselves. What's your advice to them as they look at fulfilling those needs in a growing and thriving business?
Well, one question you need to ask yourself is, can you do it better? If you can, a lot of times the answer is yes, but at what cost can you do it better? What are you not doing that you could be doing because you're doing that?
Right.
That's one of the main things. And then, you got to build a reputation, talk to other small businesses, other community banks that have used vendors for certain things, and build that trust. Maybe start with something small, kind of build your way up. A lot of places, it's hard to imagine having all the things that are going on today in my world to have that in-house. I don't know what that would look like as far as a head count to be able to manage that kind of thing. Right. But that would be my main advice: is can you do it better, and at what cost if you can do it better? Because a lot of times you can get it done and be more efficient if you do outsource it.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a point that we normally talk to clients about, is that even if you have the staff internally, we see a lot of clients that have projects that come down either because maybe regulatory changes or compliance or things that they need to do it, or maybe it's just a refresh for technology or cloud migration, even a lot of what we do. And even though you may have the resources in-house, the question is, does it make sense to assign those resources to a one-time project, or maybe even a function that's not specifically utilizing those people to the greatest of benefit to the business, in place of outsourcing it, where may provide, to your point, focus back on things internal and better capacity, better planning, that sort of thing. One more question here is, for you guys that are in the finance vertical, and probably several people listening that are in other verticals that have regulations and requirements to meet there. What do you all do there from a vendor or an outsourcing standpoint? What kind of things are you looking through the lens of when you bring on a vendor or partner to do outsourcing for you, such that you have to look through the lens of compliance and regulatory requirements?
Yeah, compliance is a big deal. From the vendor perspective, we go through a whole realm of vendor due diligence. We go from asking financials. If they're a data center, there's a whole another realm of stuff you need to get from them. SAA 16s and SOC reports, and we call references. Are they in good financial shape? If they store data, where is it stored? Is it stored, in Raleigh? Is it stored in Germany? Those are the kind of things, that you have to look for. We have a pretty robust due diligence process. Our compliance team is about as rigid as you can imagine as far as putting vendors through the hoops. So That's a huge deal with regulators. We just went through a recent exam, and that's always a topic of discussion. Vendor management is always one of their top things they will talk about.
Yeah, definitely important. Well, it looks like we're about at our time here, Jamie. So I want to thank you so much for your time and your valuable insight. And we want to thank all the folks online that are attending our webinar. We know there are a lot of things going on today, and people get fatigued from giving on webinars these days. But we appreciate those who have joined us. And so we'll be following back up with via email over the next few days for those that have attended this with an on-demand link. So if you want to share this or review it, you can do that. And there'll also be links there. If you have any questions on this topic or have any ideas, then you can just reach out to us and let us know. There'll be contact information to follow. So once again, thank you so much. Thank you, Jamie. And we hope everyone stays safe and stay healthy. Thank you.